If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy. Download and subscribe at BeBullish.com.
CRM was supposed to improve customer relationships. Instead, it's shorthand for Customer Rage Machine. Your CRM can't explain why a customer's package took 5 detours? Reboot your inner peace and scream into a pillow. It's okay. On the ServiceNow AI platform, CRM stands for something better. AI agents don't just track issues, they resolve them, transforming the entire customer experience. So breathe in and breathe out. Bad CRM was then. This is ServiceNow.
The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back. You are re-entering the Stone Zone. Well, indicted New York Attorney General Letitia James, who stands indicted for mortgage fraud and bank fraud, both charges that she has prosecuted New Yorkers under, is now launching a portal to dox federal immigration officers using your tax dollars. Attorney General Letitia James announced that she was launching this portal to collect photos and videos of ICE activity in New York. New York Attorney General Letitia James is encouraging New Yorkers to submit videos and other documentation of federal immigration enforcement actions in New York following yesterday's Immigration and Customs Enforcement raid on Canal Street in New York City. The Attorney General said, "Every New Yorker has the right to live without fear or intimidation. If you witnessed and documented ICE activity yesterday, I urge you to share that footage with my office. We are committed to reviewing these reports and assessing any violations of law. No one should be subjected to unlawful questioning, detention, or imitation." Let me explain the problems with Letitia James' statement. Notice she says every New Yorker has the right to live without fear or intimidation. ICE officers are not trying to deport New Yorkers. They're trying to deport illegal immigrants on a priority basis, those who have criminal records and who pose a danger to the average New Yorker. Attorney General James is, in essence, asking New Yorkers to share photos or videos of federal government officers doing their duty. I'm not a lawyer, but I can tell you now that J.B. Pritzker, the corpulent governor of Illinois, and Brandon Johnson, the nearly brain-dead mayor of Chicago, are both in legal jeopardy because they have ordered Chicago police officers not to assist when ICE agents who are fulfilling their federal duties are arresting illegals in the city of Chicago. They can both be held legally liable to any injury or death of an ICE agent. I kind of wonder whether Letitia James is headed down the same road. I've never, in the 50 years I've been in American politics, seen a greater hypocrite. Joining me now to talk about Letitia James is the man who actually was among the first in the country to discover her 43-year crime spree of serial mortgage fraud. Mortgage fraud that she would try to convince you is no big deal, or maybe she didn't even really commit. Sam Antar, who's kind of an interesting cat himself, he's got a very interesting career trajectory. He was once one of the perpetrators of the largest financial crimes in American business history. He was the chief financial officer of Crazy Eddie. Remember Crazy Eddie, the major consumer electronics chain in the northeastern United States back in the 80s? Sam Antar was charged as one of the decade's greatest security fraud schemes. Went to trial, paid his debts to society, came out rehabilitated, and since that time, he has dedicated himself and his incredible expertise in both forensic accounting and business to find financial fraud and to help combat white-collar crime. His website, whitecollarfraud.com, is a must-read if you want to see all of the documented proof that no one is above the law, including New York Attorney General Letitia James. Sam Antar, welcome to the Stone Zone.
Thank you. Well, she has a portal for ICE. I was going to start a portal for a mortgage fraud, but it already exists in the county clerk's office, on the ACRIS New York City database, and in New York State campaign finance filings. So, her fraud is there. It's plain. Her signatures are on it. You have 12 mortgages over a period of 43 years. Actually, it's 13 mortgages over a period of 43 years. It's not a coincidence. It's not a clerical error. Everybody is hearing from the mainstream media, oh, it's just one property, and she made a mistake filling out the form. On that one property, she filled out 4 false forms. That's the Peroni Avenue property in Virginia. She said one thing to the insurance company. She said another thing to New York State. She said another thing to the bank, and she said another thing to the IRS. Each one of those 4 documents conflicts with the other 3, but it's a clerical error. But the reason why the press doesn't mention it is because it doesn't go with the narrative. She has the press on her side, but something, the press isn't going to be on the jury pool.
Yeah, it's the thing that impresses me about Sam Antar's investigative reporting is he doesn't just make allegations, he posts the actual publicly available documents on his website so you can see for yourself that when she signed the power of attorney to obtain the mortgage on this Virginia property, she undoubtedly said that it would be owner occupied. This was not a clerical error. This, by the way, wasn't a fill in the form or fill in a blank form. This wasn't a check the box. This was a specifically drafted document which she misled the lenders in order to secure a better mortgage rate, a better insurance rate on this Virginia property by misrepresenting that she herself would live there. And of course, if she did live there, she'd be constitutionally ineligible to be New York Attorney General. But Sam, I'm not sure how you could possibly be right, because the New York Times, the once vaunted New York Times, and Lawfare, which is a website owned by Dan Abrams, where lying is the standard of the day. This is one of those distortionist sites that they're the people that told us the Russian collusion hoax was real. Don't pay attention to Hunter Biden's laptop. That's all Russian disinformation. These are the same people who lied about those things. Now they're trying to cover for Letitia James. Anna Bauer, a reporter there, Harvard educated, Cambridge Law, Redstone Fellow, and Lawfare senior editor. They just ignore facts when they don't fit their narrative, don't they, Sam?
That is correct. Back in the day, after Crazy Eddie's, around 2005 to 2010, I was very active in uncovering financial crimes by public companies. And I knew 2 reporters at the New York Times that I loved and respected, Floyd Norris and Gretchen Morgenson. They would question me before I would give them anything. In other words, they would cross-examine me, not because they didn't trust me, but they wanted to make sure I got it right before they published. Today's New York Times is nowhere near that. It's just a propaganda outfit. These people, they deliberately don't look, or they just distort the narrative. All they do is act as PR pieces for very, very far left politicians. And you know something? They're acting as a mouthpiece for Mamdani too. And if Mamdani gets elected, they are going to get the mayor they deserve.
Yeah, Sam Antar at White Collar Fraud has done some of the seminal and most important reporting that demonstrates that, well, Zohran Mamdani's campaign is not some grassroots uprising of average citizens, but in fact has been funded by an interconnected, interlocking group of nonprofits, not-for-profits, NGOs, political action committees, and political parties in direct violation of the law. You wouldn't believe that if you listen to Mamdani's campaign rhetoric, but I don't want to get distracted from the question of Letitia James. Letitia James was indicted in the Eastern District of Virginia because that's where the property in Norfolk, Virginia, that she lied to obtain a mortgage exists. This is one of the more liberal jurisdictions in the country. It's the same jurisdiction which former FBI Director James Comey stands indicted. But the president, when he found out that the chief prosecutor there, the U.S. Attorney Eric Siebert, concealed the fact that he had a material conflict in the Comey case. Siebert, who was quietly preparing a 51-page memo arguing as to why James Comey should be held to a different standard than anyone else and should not be charged with lying to Congress regarding material matters pertaining to the attempted smear of President Donald Trump regarding Russian collusion. But Eric Siebert, the U.S. attorney, never disclosed the fact that his father-in-law, that is his wife's father, is the godfather and the lawyer for James Comey, but he's also the godfather to Comey's children, a material conflict of interest, because that prosecutor, Eric Siebert, should have passed on this case, should have recused himself, but didn't. The president then appointed, as is his legal right, an interim U.S. attorney named Lindsay Halligan. Now, Lindsay Halligan is a very attractive attorney. I hate the way the media keeps mocking her as an insurance lawyer when in fact she was a partner in a major law firm heading their civil litigation division and has extensive experience, therefore, with juries. But because she's a conservative, and frankly because she's extremely attractive, the media sneers at her because she has no prosecutorial experience. But Sam, I guess I would ask you this question. If the charges against Letitia James are legitimate, why did a jury of her peers, a grand jury in the Eastern District of Virginia, vote to indict her? If Lindsay Halligan's incompetent, which is what they would try to tell us, I think that's false, and the facts are not there, why did a grand jury indict her?
There are two facts, okay? First of all, I've been writing about it in my blog, all right? Joe Gilbert has been writing about it too. All of my information, I can't speak for Gilbert, all of my information was sent to the DOJ, okay? The information on my blog and other information that I wanted to keep away from the public, not because I had something to hide, but because it would be more helpful to the investigators if they didn't have it, okay? That information was given to the DOJ. Now, Siebert's problem with the conflict of interest is interesting. But the bigger problem was that Siebert obstructed justice. He had a case, but he claimed he didn't have a case. And that is the worst part of it. When you have a prosecutor that's not willing to go after somebody that broke the law. Now, you talk about the grand jury. It's very simple. Either she signed a name to false documents, or she didn't. She did. They showed 4 false documents. This I'm implying because I don't know specifically about what went on in the grand jury, but I can tell from the indictment, there were 4 different documents relating to one property so far in Peroni Avenue in Virginia, where she signed 4 different attestations that conflict with the other 3. It's a simple case. Mortgage fraud. Okay, it's not an accident. It's not a one-off. And when you add to that other things like mortgage fraud in Brooklyn, mortgage fraud going back 42 years, mortgage fraud on another property, that's where it's at.
Yeah, I saw that Nellie Miranda did her own forensic analysis of all the documents and did a complete takedown of this whole clerical error fairy tale. The one that conveniently skips paragraph 9 of the indictment where James' insurance misrepresentations are in plain sight. I also know, just from following white-collar fraud for a long time, that These kinds of crimes, in this case mortgage fraud and bank fraud, usually have downstream from them additional crimes such as tax fraud and insurance fraud. And frankly, I fully expect that there will be superseding indictments against Letitia James. I know that she is wearing this like a badge of honor. It may even induce her to challenge the current governor of New York, who's epically unpopular in the Democrat primary. And right now, among radical left-wing Democrats, Letitia James is probably extraordinarily popular. She might even be able to beat the sitting governor. We shall see. You're listening to The Stone Zone here on the Red Apple Audio Networks. I'm talking to Sam Antar, criminal fraud investigator par excellence, and we'll be right back.
The following is a paid political announcement.
Lifelong Democrat Diana Florence served for 25 years as a Manhattan prosecutor under DA Robert Morgenthau. She put criminals away, stood up for victims, and protected our streets. Now, Diana is challenging failed Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg as an independent because it's time for a DA who fights for our families, not criminals. That's why Diana has won the support of organized labor, like the steamfitters, plumbers, and ironworkers, everyday New Yorkers who want a DA they can trust. Manhattan needs a DA who will do the job, prosecute crime. That's Diana Florence. Under Alvin Bragg, crime is up and prosecutions are down. Bragg doesn't prosecute crime. He plays partisan politics. Bragg failed to protect women and failed to protect workers. As a prosecutor, Diana Florence won groundbreaking convictions, fighting against corruption, domestic violence, wage left, and deadly working conditions. She's always been a partner of unions, community groups, and to cops like us. For Manhattan District Attorney, vote for Diana Florence. Diana4DA.com. Paid for by Diana for Manhattan DA.
You're a guy who just wants to look nice. The kind of nice where you might get a nice compliment on the niceness of your nice new outfit. Good thing Men's Warehouse has everything from polos to jeans and yes, suits, plus a team to help you find the perfect fit to make sure you look nice. Nice. Love the way you look. Men's Warehouse.
This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. It's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and LifeLock has tips to protect your identity. Use strong passwords, set up multi-factor authentication, report phishing, and update the software on your devices. And for comprehensive identity protection, let LifeLock alert you to suspicious uses of your personal information. LifeLock also fixes identity theft, guaranteed or your money back. Stay smart, safe, and protected with a 30-day free trial at LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
The Stone Zone, entertaining and informative.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
And we're back in the Stone Zone. We're joined by Sam Antar, the editor and publisher of WhiteCollarFraud.com. It was on his initial findings that the Federal Housing and Finance Administration examined the all publicly available documents to determine that Letitia James had actually engaged in a 43-year crime spree of serial mortgage fraud. In fact, I think, Sam, it's fair to say there's been some element of fraud in every single mortgage that Letitia James has ever received. Is that accurate?
That is correct. 13 mortgages, 13 frauds. 6 New York State ethics filings, at least 5 frauds.
Yeah, it's really quite exceptional. Of course, in court, you know, the pattern, even though she's not charged in her initial mortgage where she claimed that her father was her husband in order to use his balance sheet to qualify for the mortgage. On the mortgage application, she claimed it was her husband, but on the deed, she accurately recorded that it was her father. That's a fraud. Then, of course, she made misrepresentations to get a HAMP loan on an investment property that by law was required to be 4 units and under. Hers, she says in the application, was 4 units, but you went there physically with Joel Gilbert of the writing for the Gateway Pundit. You saw that it was 5. She isn't charged in either one of those, but that pattern will be telling in court. That pattern of fraud can still be used in the courtroom. I'll talk very quickly about this woman, Nellie Miranda. Very, very impressive. I was unaware of her. She's on YouTube. You can see her at Nellie Miranda TV. Nellie is Nellie Miranda TV. a very impressive African-American investigative journalist, citizen journalist. Seems to me like she did what the New York Times and Lawfare.com refused to do. She read the actual indictments. Tell us about this, Sam.
Well, she read the actual indictment. She came to the same conclusions that you and I did independently. In other words, nobody fed her anything. And more than that, it was interesting that Lindsay Halligan was being demeaned. Oh, she's just an insurance lawyer, right? But guess what? The insurance lawyer caught the insurance fraud, which the Harvard-educated lawyer and the other one that's not a Harvard at Lawfare, they haven't anything to say about the insurance fraud, or the New York Times didn't have anything to say about the insurance fraud. It's kind of like the whole narrative is to destroy this case. Hold on, I'm in Manhattan. Anyway, the other thing that bothers me is a specific threat of violence that came from Letitia James. She said, and I quote, "I will not bow, I will not break, and I will not bend, and I will not capitulate. I will not give in, I will not give up. You come for me, you got to come through all of us." And she raises a fist. So here's the thing. You mean you got to come through all of us? Is that a threat to potential witnesses? Is that a threat to whistleblowers like me? Listen, I'm not afraid of the threats because I already came through through all of them. But the point being is that this is not the behavior of an ethical state attorney general. This is not. She's not running a mob. She's not running Trent de Agua. She's not running a criminal gang. What do you mean you got to get through all of us?
Well, maybe in fact she is. My sources, and I have several of them, tell me that she's actually been threatening both whistleblowers and witnesses in this case. Folks won't remember this, but Paul Manafort was incarcerated for 12 months before he was convicted of any crime because they caught him talking to one of the witnesses in his case. And of course, when I was charged, the judge specifically prohibited me from arguing that my prosecution was selective or that I was being prosecuted for political reasons, for political motives. I wonder if the federal judge in the Letitia James case or the James Comey case, same judge, I believe, is going to rule the same way. Unfortunately, we're out of time. I want to thank our guest, Sam Antar. Urge you to go to his website, whitecollarfraud.com. See for yourself why Letitia James is one of the biggest criminals in the country and why she's in serious legal trouble. I'm Roger Stone. Thanks for joining us today in the Stone Zone. Until tomorrow, God bless you and Godspeed. And remember, a man is not finished when he's defeated. He's only finished when he quits.
Thanks for listening to The Stone Zone with Roger Stone. You can hear The Stone Zone with Roger Stone weeknights at 8 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
If you're looking to create, grow, and sustain your wealth, download and subscribe to the Pain Points of Wealth podcast at BeBullish.com with Bob, Ryan, and Chris Payne. It's your podcast for market insights, money tips, and real talk on the economy.
Download and subscribe
at BeBullish.com.